Welcome to the Acecall.ai podcast, where we help golf club managers win with AI. Running a golf club today is harder than ever, so we created simple AI solutions and a podcast to make it easier for you. I'm Clayton Elliott.
And I'm Brad Milligan. Together, we bring a mix of entrepreneurial innovation and decades of golf club management experience to help you optimize your club, increase profitability, and elevate the member experience. So let's dive in.
Right on. Today's episode is about why voicemail is dead, or at the very least, very quickly dying across many industries. And specifically, we're going to talk about voicemail versus voice AI in golf. We'll compare and contrast the old and new ways of missed call management and share some examples of how common golf club operations are currently handled with voicemail versus how they could be handled with voice AI software. If you're a general manager, golf pro, food and beverage manager, or golf club owner who is interested in optimizing operations, reducing staff stress, and maximizing your member experience, you're going to want to listen to this episode.
Yeah, I have too many stories of dissatisfied members complaining that we didn't answer the phones enough and didn't return voicemails fast enough. If I wrote a book on all the reasons why a member might be aggravated by getting voicemail, it would be a phone book size, man. It'd be massive. So here are a few examples I can think of right now. Just one time I can recall we were actually doing a playoff big member event, and we decided to allow members on the golf course after this event, just to try to appease everybody. It can be a common thing is trying to appease everybody at the golf course, but this is our massive event here. We're all out, so every golf professional was out on the golf course doing this playoff, because you need individuals basically following around every team, and there was multiple teams in this, right? So you're trying to keep score. We're very focused on this, right? In the meantime, there was nobody back at the pro shop who was, an employee of that area. I think a back shopper was put in at that time, right? So they're getting overwhelmed. There's people trying to tee off. The starters there, they're running around like, chickens without heads, and phones did not get answered at that point, right? So members are losing it. They don't know what holes to go to. Apparently it was utter chaos. We had no idea that there was this chaos going on. We're busy with our playoff. We're trying to get the this playoff under wraps and crown the winners of the tournament. And this whole thing goes down, and we're completely oblivious to it, right? We're out there. We have our walkie-talkies really low, so we're not hearing all this chatter back and forth because there's people playing golf. And this was just kind of one of those scenarios where, if one of us, because we all have our cell phones on us all the time, if one of us actually got an email, if we all got it, we would see and we'd be like, okay, somebody needs to go back there. We need to get on the walkie-talkie and send someone back at least, right? So that whole problem could have been alleviated in minutes, as opposed to us all returning and then hearing about this massive meltdown, right? So that's a really good scenario. Sorry, go ahead, Glenn.
That's definitely one. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
That's one perfect example of how voicemail dropped the ball, and voice AI
Yeah.
would have had a completely different outcome for that whole
Yeah.
situation.
100%. Like we got back and there was, 5 to 10 voicemails on there, and just people just being like, what's going on? I don't know what hole I'm like, literally just talking to this voicemail, like losing their minds. And it's like, okay, like the voicemail can't hear you, but that's what people do. Another good scenario is a member forgot their clubs and needs to travel. So, they're just absent-minded. Oh yeah, I need my golf clubs for this golf trip that I'm going on. That's incredible. I don't have those with me, right? And they're so used to coming to the club, and their clubs are stored there in their locker and everything. So they forgot about this, right? It's the middle of the night, and they got this 4 a.m. Trip that they have to take, and they completely forgot their clubs. And they're panicking, and they're calling the club, and nobody's picking up. Obviously, it's the middle of the night. And if this voice AI was there, it could have picked it up, emailed everybody on staff. There's always somebody who lives near the golf club. There was that opportunity to get that member their clubs, even though, it is the member's fault at the end of the day. We don't want to let them down. And that whole scenario could have been you could have had somebody actually get to the golf club, release those clubs, give them to the member. Even though it's the middle of the night, you had that chance to be a rock star customer service rep for the club, right? And just really show that member like, oh man, we're always thinking of the club, don't worry, right? So
He
um
would have been if he wasn't before that, he would have been the biggest fan.
yeah, he would have been like just the biggest fan ever. But again, like middle of the night, nobody's really, picking this one up, but it would have had a better chance because he probably reached out. I think he reached out to the head pro only and emailed him. But it's like if everybody got it on staff, it would have been like, oh, code red, can somebody make it there? So there would have been that extra chance, right, of this member getting those golf clubs. So and that, yeah, like you
Because
said, he
some
would have
people
been
are
like,
night owls. If that's like 11
yeah,
p.m.
yeah.
midnight, and then all of a sudden someone's on their phone, they're on YouTube or they're on whatever, they get a notification. It's like email from central dispatch line, member
Mhm.
alert line. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, what's this? And they just open it up. And in 4 seconds, 4 seconds, reading just the summary at the top of the email, they're like, oh, John needs his clubs. Oh, he needs them like now. He has a flight. He's be on the checking in at
Yeah.
6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Oh man, I can take care of him. And all of a sudden, John gets a call from Jimmy, who's like one of the staff there, and he's like, "Hey, John, it's Jimmy from ABC Country Club. How you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm doing good, Jimmy. I need my clubs, man. I need my clubs." He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go get them for you. I'll come bring it to you." Right? And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it's
Yeah.
like, he's like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah. Where do you need them? Or just meet me at the clubhouse. Be at the clubhouse in 15 minutes, 20 minutes. He'd be
Hmm.
there in 20 minutes." And the guy's like, "Dude, I'll be there in 20 minutes." Next, thing you know, middle of the night, but he's getting him in, getting his clubs, like you said, and it's like that could easily have happened.
Yeah.
Any staff, the manager could even say to the staff, if you happen to be awake late at night and you get one of these emails from a member with an emergency situation like this, where we can absolutely wow them with service. If you
Hmm.
are able, even in your off hours, to just run into the club, you have keys, you have access, go fulfill this 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 need by the member, you'll get a bonus or you'll get some kind of like
Yeah.
performance, but there's some kind of incentive to like, cause
Oh,
you're off
for sure.
hours. You don't have to go show up and go to the club, but if you do,
No,
here's $50 cash in your pocket or something like that. Like here's
something,
like
dude.
something like that, right? Or you can bank some more holiday hours or something like that, right? Where they just, the rare in situations where that happens is worth $50 to the club to wow the member. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
but and so the software allows everyone to be notified. No one have to call a voicemail, and everyone to know what's going on. Yeah, no, the gears start going. Sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
the gears start going when
No,
you
no,
when you
that's
share these
good.
situations, right? And it's like,
I mean, that's like a valuable point that you just brought up is like it actually gives like your GM or your head pro a chance to incentivize their staff when they may have like that hero often does exist and that hero does go in and get the clubs, but they do it like under the radar and they might mention it to a couple guys and be like, "Oh, John forgot his clubs again and he's got a trip," and right, and it's just like joked around, but it's like you see that email come through, everybody sees it come through, and they're like, "Well, did somebody take like somebody took care of this? I can't believe that like Billy did that and he took care of it." And right, it's like, oh, let's go congratulate him and like, yeah, give incentivize him, right? So again,
yeah, and it
it's
starts some
more
healthy
communication.
competition because now
Yeah.
the boss can be like, "Yo, look what Billy did. Any of you guys
Yeah.
willing to do that? Look what Billy did. Billy, we're gonna high five Billy in front of everyone right now. Like."
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Billy's like, that feels great. And everyone else is like, I kind of want a high five in front of everyone right now. It's kind of like, what do I have to do to get that high five? And so it creates that like healthy competition, if that makes
Yeah.
sense, like, because anybody can step up and do that. Anybody can do that anytime.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, we could drone on about this. I'll get into a couple others though, but
Yeah,
so
please.
like just something like staff calls in sick, right? And they leave a voicemail and nobody gets it. This has happened multiple times. They call in the middle of the night. Like I'm talking, let's just say it's a scenario where it's a younger person and they've had a few too many, right? And they call in because you're dealing with a lot of summer students, right? And they call in at 2 in the morning. They know they're not going to make it, so they preemptively call and they're like, okay, I'm done, right? Like I put my call in, I called the voicemail, right? And you get into the morning and there's a member there and he's got you doing something and you're pushing out carts and you're wondering where that staff member is and you're like, I don't have time now. I have to replace this kid. I have to push carts out and get power carts out and get this member's clubs out. And then you eventually, after that crazy time where you're down a staff member, you eventually get to that voicemail, right? And you're like, oh, like he's Steven's not coming in. Like what's going on here, right? And then you eventually get to that voicemail and you're like, oh, 2 in the morning. This is ridiculous, right? So scenario like that, you would have seen it in your inbox and you would have been like, oh, Steven's not coming in. And then even you would have had a chance to even like message the rest of your staff and be like, can somebody make it in the morning, like, or change a shift, right? There's that opportunity there. Where Steven, it's his first job. He has no idea what he's doing. He thinks a voicemail is sufficient, right? So another scenario like that, I mean, there's so many, right? But another thing it would eliminate, I used to get all these late night like rants on voicemail just about random things at the club, right? Like just a member would call and like nobody's picking up. It's clearly after hours and they're ranting about something, right? Like they're just like, oh, this happened today. And they just, it might be an elderly member, let's say, but they'll just rant and leave endless voicemails about some scenario. I've had members call like also kind of intoxicated and leave messages about random things they want to buy, right? So it's just like kind of eliminate checking all those voicemails and being like, oh, I just had to go through like 5 voicemails from this member just ranting about how we can't bring in a certain rain suit for him or something like that, right? So I mean the amount of uses, like we just sort of came up with another one on the fly there, right? So um if clubs are on their voicemails like white on rice, then they have an opportunity with every return call to wow a member, right? I mean, super important, but every missed call and delayed reply to a voicemail could seriously hurt that member's perception of your club, which is why I'm excited about today's topic, like super pumped about it. It's something that has been bugging me for years, and let's just say it, voicemail is dead. It had its time, but it's pretty useless now.
Yeah, I agree, man. I've had enough with it. I've let my voicemail personally fill up when my inbox fills up, and I listen to it. And it's a bunch of messages, and I've called people voicemail where I'm planning to leave a voicemail, and it's like, sorry, that person's voicemail is full. It's like if that's happened, anybody that's happened to, you're like, yeah, people are tired of it. People are tired of
Yep.
checking their voicemails. I even had one guy's voicemail. He said, "I don't check my voicemail, so send me a text." And his voicemail box was full, so he's just like, I don't check it.
Wow.
So today we're gonna dive deep into why voicemail is obsolete, why if you're still using it, probably shouldn't be for much longer, and why voice AI really is the future of missed call management across sectors, across industries, across businesses, really like all businesses, but definitely in golf club management. If you own or run a golf club and still use phones and voicemail, make sure you stick around. Today, we're going to be talking about really the biggest transformation in phone based customer service since the invention of the answering machine. These are what they call like epoch changes, right? They're an epoch. It's an era. They don't really happen very often, these changes, but when they do, they permanently change everything. They change the way of doing things for everyone forever. So we sell voice AI software. So you may think it's just our bias, but we also believe that in the very near future, like legitimately not having this software and still using voicemail will be like not having email and still only using snail mail to send mail. You can do it, but putting yourself at a big disadvantage. So, all right, Brad, let's get into it. You've worked in golf for over 2 decades. You've been running clubs. You've been handling members. You have experience managing phone calls in golf clubs. How big of a pain has voicemail been for you in all that time? You know, aside from the stories you shared, just like how has it been a pain for you personally?
Yeah, like honestly, Clay, like voicemail is a disaster. So let me paint a little picture for you. So you're running a golf club. It's peak season, right? The phones are ringing nonstop, and this happens, right? It's just insanity sometimes. And half of those calls go to voicemail because your staff is too busy helping customers in person, which is legitimate. And if you want to know the best and fastest way to offend and upset a large percentage of golf club clientele, leave them hanging every time the phone rings. Like you can see it on their face, right? It's just bad etiquette to drop a
And, and,
face-to-face member.
and
Sorry,
the
go
and
ahead.
the phone rings and they look at you like, are you gonna answer that? Like you better
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
you better not be answering that right now, man. Like what I'm dealing with right
Yeah.
now is more important than whoever that is on the phone or whatever they want. Do not even walk away from me right now. And you're just like, I'm gonna let that ring. I'm gonna let the voicemail get that one.
Yeah, yeah, they love it, right? They're like, yeah, they're trying to test you out and see if you're gonna do it, right? Or they'll be like, oh, you should probably get that, right? And I'm like, it's okay, like we're having a chat right now. This is important, right? Like this is very important.
Yeah.
You and I speaking, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm the best. Like this is all about me right now, right? So yeah, it's a great point there. So Um,
You're saying it's
you
just
know,
bad etiquette. You're saying to drop face to
yeah,
face
yeah, it's just bad
chats.
etiquette to, yeah, remember, and unknown caller issues, they just don't like it, right? So now because of all the missed calls, you've got a pile of voicemail stacking up. And here's the shocker to no golf club managers listening right now. People don't check them, right? They just sit there, right? You'll see that blinking red light and you're like, I have more important things to do, right? They don't look at it. They're like, I'll get to those soon. Like it can't be that important, right? So, I mean, somebody will eventually check them, but the delay from the time the member left the message to the time it's listened to the time the member gets any kind of response can easily be, hours or a day or more on some lines at some clubs, right? It could they could see it late in the day and they're like, that's the person tomorrow will deal with that, right? There's all types of stuff that like this,
That's
you know, I'm,
tomorrow's
I'm
morning shift's problem.
yeah, like these are little secrets I'm kind of releasing here, but they're truths, right? And they're issues, so it's better to get ahead of them. So, um, I've seen some of the most upset members who complain the loudest because of not getting a hold of club staff when they called in about something and their voicemail's taking too long to be responded to, if at all, right? So it's Clay, it's a major bottleneck in almost every club. It's just to varying degrees of bad, right? So some have a dialed in system, don't get me wrong, and don't have this issue, or at least they claim they didn't when we spoke to them. But most clubs have a low call answer rate, probably around 50%, with 50% going to voicemail, right? Just, yeah, that peak season is insane. So, voicemail is awful. Uh, you know, I don't think we'll miss it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, it leaves it leaves much wanting is something that's
Mm-hmm.
saying something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like I can really only imagine how upset like club clientele get when they don't get the service that they've paid for and expect. Like they're paying for a certain standard of service. They expect to get a hold. I buy a product and I call like the grocery store. I expect someone to answer the phone. I bought like a $5 item, and it's like people are spending thousands and thousands of dollars at some of these clubs, tens of thousands of dollars a year at some of these clubs. They expect to just get someone on the phone when they have a minute to call and want to ask a question. We expect someone to answer the main phone lines of like any business in this day and age. Like if you call the phone and not answering, you're like, that's weird. Are they in business? Right. And if they can't answer, we expect them to respond to especially important voicemails in a timely manner. And even when staff do check voicemail and reply to all of them, it's a horribly slow and inefficient process. Like you have to listen to each message in full. You have to write down by hand all the pertinent details and information from the caller. You can't pause. Most systems, I've never seen one where you can pause or rewind the voicemail that you're listening to. You have to listen to the end, and then it says press 1 to listen again, press 2 to delete, press 3 to
Yeah.
save, press 4 to see the caller ID number. And you got to go through, press the numbers again. Then you got to go through all the messages again if you want to get back to that one. Actually, no, because you can do replay on some of them. Some of them you can't. Some of them just goes to the next message. But sometimes the caller doesn't leave the most important information to
Yep.
even determine the reason for the call or the urgency. You might also have a voicemail system that's just a pain for your staff and your callers to deal with. And therefore they don't really want to, and they're kind of deterred from doing it, right? And once someone's voicemail is full, we mentioned before, it's 0% effective. Like the
Mm-hmm.
second someone lets their voicemail get full, that's it. It's might as well not even have a voicemail at that point.
Right. And think about the member experience, right? How many people even leave voicemails anymore? I know I don't, right? It's very rare for me to leave a voicemail unless, again, like we're calling around to general managers, we're trying to get some information to them. I will leave a voicemail there, right? But we make business cold calls daily and leave voicemails every time. But we're doing sales and we'd be stupid not to, right? So, but most people hang up the moment they hear the voicemail prompt because they have been conditioned to believe the odds of getting a call back are slim to none. That's how I deal with most voicemails outside of sales. So if your club's
Yeah, me
members,
too. Me too.
yeah, right, like so, if your club's members have had multiple bad experiences with your club's voicemail system, they might be slow to leave future voicemails when they actually need something.
Yeah, that's a good point. People people today, they really, everybody expects to some degree instant gratification. Like golf clientele have a customer service standard that is so much higher than the general population. And if a golf club can't answer a phone or return a voicemail promptly, it's gotta hurt their brand, both to current members and to new prospects. Golf new member golf prospects. Like these guys have
Yeah.
been to other clubs, most likely. They
Hmm.
know what the standard of service they're looking for at the highest end clubs they've been to, right? And if someone's going to join a club, there's a number of different reasons someone wants to join a club, but very few people are like, I want to join this club. It seems like they're really, really low standard of service here. I think I want to join that club, right? That's like a probably a huge deterrent from considering joining a club because it's a commitment. Joining a club is definitely a commitment. It's at least an annual subscription, right? Especially if
Hmm.
it's been a wait list to get on. Like, certain clubs are very exclusive, but doesn't mean they can't drop the ball in customer service side of things.
Yeah, it leaves them feeling undervalued right out of the gate, right? Like
Yeah,
if a prospect is calling your club and they don't get an answer or a call back promptly, and there's other decent club options locally, there's a good chance they're calling somewhere else too, right? So,
yeah, for sure.
and the stats back it up, right? Return call rates from voicemail messages in golf are they're at an all-time low, right? People are overwhelmed. So, golf clubs are very busy and they can be so chaotic during that peak season again, and staff are often expected to do more with less. Very few clubs are trying to help their staff do less with more. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
but that doesn't
exactly.
that doesn't doesn't matter to members, right? Members of any golf club expect to get a hold of someone when they have an issue. It's simple stuff. When they leave a voicemail, they have an expectation, even if it's an unconscious one, that they should receive a call back soon. Every minute that passes by, it feels like hours are going by. That member is less and less happy and more dissatisfied. So not only does voicemail waste everyone's time, but it actively loses business for golf clubs, both from current members and from those new prospects that you want so badly. I've seen it happen too many times to count, right? And this is not because people working in golf clubs are lazy. It's just we're working hard nonstop from early to late. The season's really long. Things slip through the cracks, especially if the systems are not in place to make sure all member calls are caught in time. So I said it once and I'll say it again, voicemail sucks. It really does.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. During a previous chapter of my life, I was actually a locksmith,
Yeah.
and our phones ring around the clock. It's so interesting because I've never called a locksmith in my life. I've never needed one. So I'm thinking, oh, how often can a locksmith's phone like really ring? And then you realize, well, if everyone has doors, everyone has locks, everyone has hinges, every business, every building multiply by 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 doors. Like there's so many doors. There's so many entrances to so many buildings and homes. Our phones ring around the clock, 24/7, 365. The phone never, there's never a day you walk in and there's not a voicemail sitting on the inbox when you come in the morning. So it was horribly time consuming and ineffective to work with. I would spend an hour, sometimes 2 hours in the morning in the shop when I was the only one there, because we have the shop manager, we have the owner. If he's there in the morning before I get there, there's work orders already laid out because he's been answering the phone and checking the voicemails. But sometimes he'd be out on the job. I think other colleagues would be out in different jobs. I show up in the office 9 a.m. and again I'm the first one there. So one of the routine jobs is go check the voicemail if you're the first one there and put together a work order, some work orders for yourself. So I'm listening to voicemails. I'm writing down the details. I'm returning calls. Many people are stumbling, mumbling, slurring. They don't give their phone number. So I have to
Yeah.
listen to the thing, try to pull the number out. We had an old clunky physical phone on the desk in the office where we work. And like my billable hours to the company were somewhere between like 250 and $500 an hour, depending on the work. It could be $1,000 an hour depending on the job, but 250, 500 on average is what I'm worth to the company per hour. And here I am listening to voicemails that a $15 an hour receptionist could do, right?
Yeah.
Or
Wow.
that a voice AI receptionist can do. And
Yep.
like sometimes I wouldn't get out of the office onto the road doing jobs till 11 o'clock, 11:30. Because as I'm
Mm.
returning calls and I'm listening to voicemail, the phone keeps ringing. And new people are calling at 9:15, 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I'm getting interrupted even with my ability to listen to the voicemails and call people back by new orders coming in.
Mm.
So it's like 11, 11:30, 12 o'clock. I'm getting in my truck to go and just start doing billable, workable hours, you know? So it really does suck. It sucked for us a lot. And
Yep.
this is where things really start to get interesting in 2025 and onward for all businesses, including locksmith businesses, plumbers, electricians, like every business that has a phone that rings regularly and outside of working hours when people don't really want to answer the phone. And even just many times during working hours where you can't even keep up with the phone, right? The voice AI software is now it's proven technology with massive infrastructure behind it. This is not something we have running on a server in our basement. You know, this is not experimental stuff. It's been in the works for a few years. It's been available to the market for a couple years in some pretty basic forms, but it works out of the box every single time. And it's way past the innovator and early adopter stages, right? This is now being adopted by the early majority now in the bell curve, the tech adoption bell curve. And so from this stage onward, more and more businesses will be ditching voicemail in favor of voice AI powered call management, missed call management, right? And so, Brad, have you heard of any golf clubs making this shift yet? I know it's not really possible to know what each and every club is doing. It's tens of thousands of clubs across North America, but like, have you heard of anything in all the conversations you've been having over the last couple months?
No, I haven't. Actually, I haven't heard of any golf clubs using anything like this yet. There are definitely clubs in the innovator and early adopter stages, but none that I've heard of, and nobody I've been calling has implemented or knows of any clubs using voice AI yet either, which I'm not very surprised about, to be honest, Clay, because golf technology is a huge part of golf, and players are more quick to adopt new gear or clothes or other player-focused golf tech. But golf clubs, like many traditional businesses, tend to be slow adopters of new tech. So, without knowing any myself, I'm confident the ones that have jumped on it are already reaping those early benefits.
Yeah, 100%. Just the example I gave earlier,
Yeah.
the example you gave earlier, it's if anybody's even getting those tackled in the way that we explained, they're already getting huge benefits. And I know uh, right around the time of this recording is the CMAA Expo in Florida, the annual event,
Mm-hmm.
industry event. And I know a guy we spoke with recently said that one of the topics they're covering down there is AI in golf and how AI is influencing and shaping the future of golf management. And so a lot of the people at that event, if you're, you listening to this right now, if you went to that event, I'd be curious to hear what you learned about the AI. But by the time it's being presented to you in this way, like you said, we're at the early majority stage of the
Mm-hmm.
adoption, right? The innovators and the early adopters, they've already adopted and they're already benefiting from this. And a lot of the tech that the state the tech is in now is in this state. It's at this level of advancement because of all the innovators and early adopters and them kind of working through the early stages of the tech to get it to where it is right now. So,
Yeah.
okay, right on.
100%.
Let's break it down a little bit. You might be asking yourself, what exactly is voice AI? So if I could like sum it up, it's a large language model or an LLM, you might have heard. It's LLM software with advanced AI voice recognition, natural language processing to understand caller inquiries, provide information, and handle common requests. Basically, an AI powered receptionist or employee or virtual assistant or agent, as it's commonly referred to in the AI tech space. And it can answer calls in real time. It can talk naturally to customers, can analyze and respond appropriately to sentiment, even. It can, as we mentioned before, it can, if someone's complaining about something, it can recognize the person's upset and then it can address them appropriately. Or if they're positive, everything's fine, they're not complaining about anything, it can respond to them, kind of match their tone and kind of match their excitement. It's quite impressive. And so it can take down all the caller's information. It can even provide instant responses to FAQs. If we upload all your FAQs to it, it's been programmed to do this. It can do that. So instead of sending calls to voicemail, every single caller gets an immediate response, gets to interact with an agent, an AI agent, and have that back and forth, and then be assured that their issue, will be being handled in a timely manner. So instead of needing to listen to voicemails, every call ends with an email summary sent to all staff that you would want notified. So that's the standard kind of operations behind it. In basic mode, it's kept on tighter parameters to only be able to capture the phone number, which it grabs from the caller ID, the name of the caller, the email address, these are optional, and reason for calling, which is optional, but you don't really want to toggle it off. You want to always get the reason for calling. And in advance, and then would send it the email summary to all parties who you want to get that email summary. It provides a call summary, one short little sentence, as well as the full transcript, as well as all those other pertinent identifier detail, contact details. And in advanced mode, we can actually customize nearly any use case you can imagine. We haven't customized nearly every use case you can imagine, but if you can conceive it, it's getting to a point where it can be done. And it takes a lot of development to get right, these new kind of innovative applications, but some amazing stuff is doable with this current voice AI tech in its current form. And if you have any ideas for how you would like to customize an advanced voice AI employee and virtual assistant, receptionist, agent, whatever you want to call it, please call our AI receptionist at 1-866, this is toll free, 1-866-838-8581. Again, 866-838-8581, and let it know that you would like to speak with us more about that, about customizing an advanced voice AI employee, and we will be in touch as soon as very, very shortly. So we're going to spend a lot of time this year in advanced mode R&D. So we would definitely like your input to hear your thoughts on what you would like it to do for you, in a perfect situation. This isn't a commitment of you getting it. It just allows us to focus on our research and development. So what do you think of it, Brad? Now that you've been, digging into it and learning more about it, what do you think of it?
Yeah, man, honestly, it's blowing me away what it can do, because I thought it would be this like clunky system. Like you never know how these things are, right? And we have all these preconceived notions that we arrive with, but it's not just some robotic, awkward system. Again, if you're curious, call our demo voice AI agent to see it in action. It sounds incredibly human, right? It can handle natural conversations. Like when I told it I had a golf cart, my golf cart was dead out there. I was just, creating a scenario. It was like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, right? It understands different accents and even interpret caller intent and sentiment, as we've been talking about here. So the fact it can quickly assess the mood of the caller and respond appropriately and sensitively, like how a real receptionist would, it's pretty remarkable, Clay.
That's cool. Yeah, no, it really is. It's a game changer for customer service. I mean, like, imagine a club where every missed call is handled professionally, every inquiry is recorded and summarized in an email, and customers like never feel ignored. They never feel that they're forgotten about. They never feel like they slipped through the cracks when things got busy. That's essentially the future of standard missed call management across all industries, and it's taken off right now in 2025. This is one of the biggest driving trends of 2025 technology. So, all right, let's zoom out a little bit though and discuss a little bit like where is this trend headed? Because we're not just talking about like a small shift here. This is like the biggest leap in phone-based customer service in decades since the invention and the launch of voicemail, of a voice recording device.
Oh, absolutely. And we've got some clear milestones behind us and ahead of us. So in 2023 to 2024, early adopters and tech-savvy businesses started implementing AI-driven call assistants. So this year in 2025, AI call management will become mainstream in popular industries like hospitality, golf, retail, and healthcare, just to name a few. And I predict through 2026 to 2027, businesses without voice AI will begin to be seen as outdated, just like businesses that resisted getting websites and social media 15 years ago.
Yeah, this is just like how like email replaced fax, or how
Yeah.
websites became essential for business and operations and not just like an optional nice thing to have. So it's really not a question of like if golf clubs will adopt voice AI. It's just a question of when. And the ones that get in early, what are they going to get? They'll definitely have a massive head start in reaping
Mhm.
the really like serious and measurable operational benefits of voice AI. So, to prove my point, I want you to share a short story about a common urgent issue, a common, recurring issue that can be anywhere from slightly urgent to seriously urgent that all golf clubs see regularly. This one single application, it makes using voice AI a pretty much no brainer for every club. And the benefits of this single use case outweigh any possible risks of using it. So, we invite you to test Acecall.ai, but whether you get ours or someone else's, you need to make sure you make it do this use case for you. Because to be able to quickly solve 100% of golf cart or power caddy issues out on the course in live time with a wow level of customer service is worth tens of thousands of dollars a year in and of itself. So if you don't believe me, Brad, please tell them that story. You have the mic, good sir.
Thank you, Clay. Appreciate it. So we'll just go through this scenario here, right? Member's golf cart or power caddy is broken down on the course, and he or she needs a cart or power caddy replaced. This happens daily at golf courses, right? Maybe not golf carts, but power caddies. This is a common scenario at a golf course, right? So we're going to go to scenario number one, which is voicemail answering, right? And this isn't the best option here anymore, right? So a valued member is playing a midday round with some of his clients, right? He's out there on a business meeting, showing them to a nice day of golf and club amenities, right? He's showing them the whole experience. That's what he's there for. So they're on the ninth hole and their golf cart breaks down. He calls the pro shop to ask them to send him a new cart. Nobody seems to answer. So he leaves a voicemail. No big deal at this point, right? He waits 10 minutes now. He's waiting 10 minutes out there. He calls back again. Again, no answer. So he waits. Five more minutes go by. Still no call back. Now it's 31 degrees outside and it's high noon. It's the peak of the day there, right? He's getting smoked out there. He's in the sunniest part of the course, and one of his guests just didn't bring enough water. He's a little hungover from the night before. This member is now getting more irritated by the minute, right? He's probably not showing it to his guests, but he's internally flustered at this point. So 20 minutes total goes by, and still nobody has gotten back to him. He calls again, and this time there is no answer again. He leaves another voicemail, right? Probably more agitated. He jokes around with his guests, they joke about walking back and ditching the game, right? They're hungover players, not doing so great. He's standing up in the blazing sun for 30 minutes, just really not handling it very well, trying to hang in there like a trooper. Finally, the pro shop calls back and lets him know he'll get a cart sent out right away. But that will take, could take 5-10 minutes, depending on where this is on your golf course, right? It could be a long drive out there. So the new cart eventually arrives, right? It's a back shopper. They've rolled out there, somebody making minimum wage. And the player decides to call it a day and head back to the clubhouse for some lunch and possibly continue play later when it's cooler, right? So the member salvages the day, right? They're trying to recover here. They salvage the day with the rest of the club's amenities, have a nice dinner, right? Anything they can do to make this up to their guests, but they couldn't finish their game of golf and had no idea who would have won, right? Which gave everyone an incomplete feeling. You have that feeling in your body like, that wasn't the day I was looking for, right? That was not what I invested in for today. Didn't quite get the whole experience. Wasn't the end of the world, but not what I set out for today, right? And the member, felt he dropped the ball with his clients overall. mainly because of this experience, right? It wasn't what he was looking for, right? So
Yeah, not the end of the world. Not going to destroy
no,
people. No
no,
one's dead, but like
no, no.
it was below expectations. Like there was
Exactly.
expectations, reality, and that gap. Right, the bigger that gap, the more strain and stress and dissatisfaction people experience and feel with any business or any service or any product.
There you go. There you go. Right. So let's take this exact same scenario here, right? But we're going to get voice AI to kick in here, right? So scenario number 2, this is a much better, an excellent experience, right? So same situation, same member trying to show his clients a great time, same cart breaks down on the ninth hole. Middle of the day, 31-degree heat, sun blaring down. He calls the pro shop, as he should, for help with this issue. It's the thing he should do. Nobody answers because Billy Golf Pro is interacting with a valuable member on a serious issue, face to face, and he simply can't take the call. And Janine, the summer student, she's off on her lunch break. But instead of the member leaving a voicemail that is not checked for over 20 minutes, in this scenario, he speaks with the pro shop's voice AI receptionist immediately, right away. It has a natural conversation with a few back and forth interactions, and with the member, and it gathers all the pertinent information, then assures him this will be handled promptly by someone before politely ending the call. It then immediately sends an email to the head golf pro, Steven, who is on lunch nearby, the assistant pro, Marty, backshop manager, Frank, starter, Alex, and even the backshop email on a shared computer. Pretty much everyone who needs to know about this member's issue on the course now knows. Within less than 15 seconds of the end of the call caught by your AI receptionist, the news is out on the walkie-talkies, and backshop staff are towing out a replacement golf cart to the member and his clients. From the member's perspective, he called the pro shop. Staff didn't answer. He spoke for 30 seconds to a voice AI receptionist, and within less than a minute, somebody called him back to let him know a replacement golf cart is already en route and arriving within minutes to his location on the ninth hole. You can't get a tighter problem to solution execution window than that. You can't fix their issue much faster than that. If you run a pro shop and you deal with broken down golf carts and power caddies, you know this single application of voice AI tech is worth every penny. And there are many more ways this can be deployed in your club in basic mode and be massively valuable on day one. We'll do another episode on basic versus advanced mode, Acecall.ai, and all the ways voice AI tech can be deployed in your club. We really can't do it like the amount of justice it needs in the rest of today's episode, right, Clay?
Yeah, and that's a perfect example. Like this is one of the things we were brainstorming. Like, what are some of the issues people experience in all different parts of the club? And we talked about people breaking down on the green, on the course. And we're like, all right, well, what's different scenarios? And this one we came up with, and we're just like, yeah, like, what's one of the worst situations we could imagine? And like that happens. That's not just that's a made up
No,
scenario, but that's like not a made up scenario.
no, that's happened
And
hundreds of times
hundreds,
to me
and every club,
alone. Yeah.
and so every year this is a norm, and that first situation is how it happens, and this second situation is like imagine a better possibility, right? And so that really nails it as just one individual application. If it only did this, it's worth every dollar.
Yeah.
And so I'd say, yeah, it's a perfect example of a real life scenario, a real life use case of this software. Also, I'm gonna quickly riff through a few other examples of what voice AI can do, and obviously you can just imagine what your current voicemail is doing in these situations. Voice AI can act as a general mailbox for all front desk calls. So if you have a front desk line, a main line, that rings, someone's supposed to answer it, the receptionist is supposed to answer it, or if it patches through to different people's mailbox or a general mailbox, this can handle the general mailbox. It can also be in advanced mode. You can speak to it and say, patch me through to the general manager, please. And it'll say, gotcha, patching through the general manager, and it can patch people through. You mentioned more and more clubs are actually just closing out that front desk greeter or receptionist role and having multiple team members kind of pick up that workload when necessary. It's not necessary to have a full-time person there. So
Yep.
this software could definitely help with any phone calls coming in to that department. Advanced mode, we can integrate with your tea time software, pretty much anything with an API, voice AI can patch into. And so with your tea
Yep.
time software, members can just call to book, cancel, reschedule tea times 24/7, and it updates it right into your tea time software. Another I think this is a really good application. In advanced mode, it could be even better, but members can pre-call. They can call in food and beverage orders at the restaurant as they're wrapping up games. So instead of calling the restaurant and place an order, or going on an app, whatever, they just call a phone number. And if the rest in basic mode, if the restaurant staff don't pick up to take the order, which is ideally what your first kind of line of defense, voice AI can pick up the call, take the order, confirm it back to the member, literally repeat back to them what they ordered, and then get it confirmed, then send that order to the restaurant for timely preparation, so it can be ready as soon as guests arrive from their game. If they call in on the, just imagine seeing a discrete poll in the 15th or 16th hole with a small QR code on a little post, on a little laminated card that you can scan, that pulls up the restaurant menu and the voice AI phone number for the restaurant, right? And then people put their orders in. By the time they're getting back to the clubhouse, done their game, food's ready, cold drinks are ready on the table, hot meals ready on the table, and I'm sure there's many other ways. I'm looking forward to speaking with more and more golf clubs and brainstorming with them about the most ideal ways they see this software serving their club. But I imagine as well, the GM's voicemail is a total train wreck during peak season. His phone's probably ringing all the time and can't answer it all the time, and all problems kind of funnel their way up to him. And it'd be, I imagine, very easy if he could just, whenever he has a missed call, look and see who called and get a summary of whatever that issue is, and knows if it's urgent, knows if it's not urgent, knows if he should get on the radio and walkie-talkie someone else to go deal with it versus him having to follow up with it. So, okay, Brad, we'll wrap up there. This is more than enough time. Again, a little over our original 30-minute marker, but voicemail is dead. That's the theme of the day. The future is voice AI. Future of call-based, phone-based, customer service-based businesses is voice AI. And the smart golf clubs, they're getting in on it now.
Absolutely. I'd say don't wait until it's too late. Just try it out for yourself.
Yeah. And if you're listening now, like call our voice AI agent. I mentioned the number before. I'll mention it once again. 866-838-8581, 1-866-838-8581, and see how it works firsthand. Have a chat with it. It is the next generation in customer service software, and it is here. You got to see what it is if you have not already, so you have an idea of what it is you're going to be adopting and implementing, or what it is that you're passing on.
Exactly. Don't be the last one to adopt it. Be a golf trendsetter. Golf club clientele, they love the trendsetters. And call us today. We'd love to speak with you more about this.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks, Brad. And yes, get in touch with us today. Let's have a discovery and a demo call so you can learn more about how your club can benefit from Acecall.ai. If you found this episode valuable, also please share it with your team, with your colleagues, your social media. Please subscribe to it on your, whatever you're listening to podcasts, whatever social media you maybe stumbled across us on. And also let us know. Comment, respond to us on social media, tag us. Are you going to keep your voicemail until the bitter end, or are you leaning more towards voice AI now that you listen to this episode? Is you going to hold on, ride or die to the end with voicemail, or are you kind of ready to jump ship and get on the voice AI train now? So drop us a message or leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Once again, I'm Clayton Elliott.
And I'm Brad Milligan.
And thank you for tuning in to the Acecall.ai podcast, where we help golf club managers win with the AI. And we'll see you next time. Take care.